Hey, Dad to Mom Talk, and in this video I'm going to show you a shortcut to finding out if your future special someone deserves to be the stepdad of your child. Finding a good stepdad is an enormous task, especially if you're a single mom. There are so many things to consider. Is he a good provider? Is he emotionally available? Will he be able to handle my boy? But what if I told you that there is a shortcut to all this fluff, to answering most of these questions? There is one trait that predicts whether a man will be a good stepdad to your son. And it's not love, it's not kindness, and it's certainly not good intentions. It's whether he can solve problems. Because there is nothing worse inside a house than a man who simply reacts to problems and doesn't respond to them. And if your man is unable to step up, then your son is in danger. Okay, listen, any man can fall in love with you. And any man can tolerate kids. But also, and there's the tricky part, any man can pretend that he has good intentions. Trust me, there is a significantly much smaller percentage of men that can walk into a situation, assess what is wrong, and actually fix it. You know this because, as a woman, the crushing majority of men are invisible to you. That's not by chance. It's an actual evolutionary trait. As a female, you're designed by nature to be attracted to the best possible man you can find. However, there are actually many good men out there who are outside of this percentage. Keep in mind, I am not asking you to lower your standards. What I am suggesting is that perhaps these standards are a bit warped. So, instead of looking for height, status, money, you might start by observing who is emotionally stable, self-controlled, has integrity, and most importantly, he's a keen problem solver. That's the difference between a man who leads a family or destroys it. Listen, I grew up in a fatherless home. My mom was unable to help me. So before we go more into this, let me just say this. One day your son will face a huge problem, being bullying, fear, or even heartbreak. And in that moment, your son will need a dad who responds with strength of character and not panic. So, let's see what traits a good stepdad should have, right? Okay, so the very first trait is the obvious one. He must be able to fix problems instead of just reacting to them. Most people like to generalize. They say there are two types of men or two types of women. That's rubbish. Real people are complicated. Everyone reacts differently to different people and different situations. But there are moments in time where you can actually observe what your future someone, or any man in general, is actually made of. And that is when pressure rises. Stress removes masks. And when the man who will become your future partner is under pressure, there is only one distinction that matters. Does he react or does he respond? Does he explode, blame, shut down? Or does he say, don't worry, I'm on this. I know what to do. A man who responds calmly, with clarity, and takes up the responsibility is already showing the foundations of a good dad and stepdad. And this is exactly the trait that you should look for, the quality of response under pressure. Okay, so trait number 2 is something that women intuitively also know and desire, and this is very good for you. Because it's one of the top predictors for emotional maturity in your man. And that is that your future special someone shouldn't expect an applause for doing the right thing. He must be able to make the decisions without the expectation of reciprocity. That's emotional maturity. Here's the truth. Real men are independent. They do not need the attention to do what's right. They do the job because the job just needs to be done. Remember, you want a problem solver. What's a really good sign is that you finally spot something that it is actually fixed already, and you come to him and ask, what's all about that? And his response is something akin to, this needed fixing, so I fixed it. And this is where we come to trait number 3. The future stepdad of your son must be able to step in without being asked. This one is actually huge. A man who expects to be told in order to step in is a passenger in the boat that it is your family. A man who steps up is a leader. A man who steps up is the captain of that ship. And here's the truth that most young women refuse to say out loud. You do not want to be the leader of your family. You do not want to be the head of your household. And why is that? Well, because it destroys your femininity. Leadership comes with many many masculine traits. Masculine traits that if you develop and keep up in the future will eventually destroy part or the entirety of your femininity. And yes, having someone who is leading you means that you do not get to make the final decision. But at the same time, you may really don't want to, because if your future partner, who is going to be the stepdad to your kid, is actually the leader of the household, this means that the responsibility he is lifting with his shoulders is lifted off yours. And perks, you get to still hold him accountable. That's true leadership and not domination. Trait number 4 is something that kills every blended family I have met in my life, and that is that your future someone must own his mistakes. And this is another sign of emotional maturity, and it is unfortunately something that many men take the wrong way. Because owning your mistake doesn't mean that you give power over to the other side, who is the accusing one. It simply means that you recognize a small hurdle in the long journey that is your family. So what will a weak man say? Well, it wasn't my fault, you overreacted. It's not a big deal. The moment your future someone does this, means he's fending for himself, and only himself. That's where blended families start to fall apart, because each and every of their members is in it for themselves, and not the family as a whole. Your future someone must say something akin to this: "That one's on me. I'm already on it." Trait number 5 is something that I have seen many young women fail to recognize, and in fact it's something that many young men and young couples often don't see, and that is that men in general must be the architects of the dreams that it is their family. So here's a piece of information that it is actually very helpful if you see it from the good lens and not from the dark spaces of the internet. When you choose a man, you also choose his lifestyle. This doesn't mean that your combined lifestyles will not develop something better, but in general, when you are with someone new, that new person's lifestyle will inevitably collide or combine with yours. So you will want a man whose lifestyle not necessarily matches your own, but he has the vision to combine his lifestyle with yours and create something beautiful that you and him have already agreed upon. Money, home, discipline, future, all these things should be already in the mind of the stepdad of your child. Because here's the thing, if you have a boy, he will become the future copy of whatever parental figure he's in contact with. If your future special someone has vision, your son will have vision. If he lives by his values, your son will learn values. If he stands by his principles, your son will stand by his. So here's the one dating question that can save you a lot of time and trouble. Next time you are out there in a date, ask him, what is the last hard problem you solved in your life? His answer will show his maturity, accountability, self-control, leadership, and how he thinks while under pressure. If he has no answer, he won't be able to fix anything in your family. So your son doesn't need a superhero. He needs a man who knows how to face life. Because if a man can solve problems, he can already lead, teach, and protect. And that is the very basic foundation of a stepdad worth choosing. If you found value on this video, please leave a like and subscribe, because it actually helps the channel a lot. See you on the next one. Well, that's about it.